Everybody can see screen.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So there are 6 loving exchanges. We are discussing this. So generally, everybody is looking for love and everybody wants to be loved. This is the innate desire of every living entity. So when there is loving relationship between devotees, then it will make the devotional service. One will feel inspired in devotional service. There'll be unity. So why do we need loving relationship with devotees? Because that is indicative of our relationship with Krishna. The relationship with devotees is indicative of our relationship with Krishna. And one who loves Krishna will love all the living entities. So that is there. In the subsequent verses coming up, Rupa Goswami will describe the different relationship with different devotees, how we should act in relation with other devotees. So, so why do we need loving relationship with devotees? Because it will satisfy the heart and will feel inspired and will come closer to Krishna through devotional service. So if you want to establish true friendship and loving relationship with someone, what would you do?
Be in communication and also uh, take care of each other.
Yeah. So in any relationship, of course, we are not talking about material relationship. We are talking with Krishna in the center. But yeah, in any relationship, if it has to flourish, then you have to give time. You have to give time to the other person. If you don't have time, then you will not have. So giving time means all these things, right? You ask them what is their, if they have any problem, how they are doing, is there something you can do to help them, right? So you have to give time to understand the person. You have to give time to understand their needs. You have to give time to help that person. Ultimately, everybody is looking for Krishna, but Krishna is available in the association of devotees. As we said, Krishna Bhakti comes in the association of devotees. So only philosophy will not work. That is why Prabhupada says he established this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because we can have loving relationship with devotees. And in this material world, everything goes down, right? If you are, like they say, spiritual life is like swimming upstream. And if you are not making an effort to move upstream, then what will happen? By the force of material nature, automatically you'll move down. So in any relationship, if you are not investing in the relationship, if you are not taking care of the relationship, then what will happen? The relationship will slowly disintegrate. Because everything in this material world disintegrates. That is the nature of this world. So we have to have time to, we have to be, what other things you would do? You have to have time. You have to be kind to that person. You should be caring to that person. We have devotee care department. And when some devotee is in need, then it is our duty to help them, because Krishna is also very pleased when we serve the Vaishnavas. It should be for a relationship to flourish. There should be no ulterior motive in that relationship. That I am serving you because I want something in return from you. Of course, there'll be naturally some expectations that come about. But real love is, as Prabhupada says, is unconditional. and unmotivated and uninterrupted. So that is another thing. What else should be there in a relationship to flourish? There should be trust, there should be loyalty, there should be trust. Then
Respect.
there should be respect, there should be tolerance, there should be forgiveness. There should be also things that you do together, right? Devotees come together and do service together. Um, we have to understand the nature of the other person. We have to be kind, right? So there are so many things. Um, any other thing you think would require for a relationship to flourish? So when we do all these things, of course, we may not be able to do with everybody, but we may have a certain number of devotees with whom which we feel very close, and at least with them, because we may not have that ability and that, but at least we can have some devotees with whom, and then if somebody else needs, you can connect them to some other devotees who can help them. So in this way, there'll be a flourishing community of devotees. And so otherwise, there'll be quarrel. And Prabhupada said, danger is not from outside, but danger is from inside. When devotees will quarrel with each other, there'll be fighting, disagreements, um, backbiting, gossiping. All these things will happen. It will spoil the mood of a community. And that's how Gaudiya Math also broke apart, because they had their personal agenda. And as when the personal agenda comes in, then there is disintegration. So in the seven purposes of ISKCON, let me show you the seven purposes of ISKCON. Prabhupada has mentioned twice, he says, to bring the members of the society closer to each other. So, pulling up the seven purposes of ISKCON. He says, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity. Thus developing the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead Krishna. So we come together with Krishna in the center. And then in another verse, he also, in number 6, he says, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. So what could be potential threats to having a good relationship? What are the potential? Just the opposite of what we said, right? When we have ulterior motive, when Krishna is not in the center, when we don't have time, right? When we are not forgiving, when we are not tolerant, then the relationship cannot flourish. Correct. So this is basically kind of, we were discussing the essence of this verse is to have loving relationships. We should have all these ingredients. And now that can manifest in different ways. You invite them to your home and you give them prasadam, you go to their home and take prasadam for them. Then ultimately you basically become so close that you reveal your mind in confidence to that person who is trustworthy, who is your well-wisher, who loves you, and who will keep your things secret. Then there is real, like you reveal your mind. So that can be of three types. You can ask questions about service, how to do a particular service. You can ask about Krishna, like Prabhupada says in this chart, that in life members come and then they, how is that? Dadati pratigrinati. Life members gives donation. The devotee gives books back to Godhead. And they inquire about Krishna consciousness, and the devotee explains about Krishna consciousness, how to do service. In Gambhira also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was discussing with Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar about confidential pastimes of Krishna. And then another way you can do inquiry and you can hear from the devotees is to tell about your personal shortcomings. That's a little bit difficult. To tell about your personal shortcomings, to tell about the obstacles that you have in devotional service, and to take guidance. So that is also Guhyam Akhyati Prichhati. So it can be at service level, it can be about discussing about Krishna, Krishna's confidential pastimes. It can also be about the obstacles that one faces and how to overcome those obstacles, inquiring about that with the understanding that the other devotee is going to keep it secret and he's going to offer you some help and like that. So in this way, the devotee. So this is a chart. Let me see here. So whom we should associate it with, where we should associate, how we should associate, and why we should associate. So associate with, of course, devotees. And Prabhupada gave the example of how in a hotel, businessmen come together and over lunch or dinner, they will discuss. So where we should associate in ISKCON. So there are 6 exchanges, life member and the devotee. So life member is, let's say, a congregation member, and devotee is the one who is living in the temple. So he gives donations, and in response, the devotees will give. This is all discussed in the purport, the books. He invites them to the house for kirtan, for prasadam. The devotee has festivals and prasadam. They come to the temple and they give. He inquires about Krishna consciousness, how to practice, and then devotee gives explanation. So in this way, the spiritual life is nourished. So dadati means to give holy name. Holy name, and what are the effects Prabhupada described? Cheto Darpana Marjanam, what are the effects of chanting the holy name? Then he gave the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jharkhand forest, how he was distributing the holy name even to the animals. And with this holy name, one can become purified and one's heart will become clean, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, and all the enviousness, lust, anger, greed, all these things will go away. Then Guhyam Akhyati, to inquire with an open mind about the situation of the material world, inquiring about Krishna consciousness movement like that. So why we should do that? Because it will give success, peace, tranquility, and friendship. So all these things will result from the association of devotees. And one will feel very satisfied at heart. Okay. And then Prabhupada talks about Mayavadis. We should not do all these things with Mayavadis. Now, Mayavadis doesn't mean we hate them. We don't have to fanatically interact with Mayavadis and things. No, we give respect to the Mayavadis. Now, there is a difference between Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. Mayavadis are those who say everything. Vad means doctrine or philosophy, and Maya means illusion. So they say everything is illusion. Even Krishna's form is illusion, Krishna's pastimes, everything is illusion. Only Brahman is Satya. Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. That is what is Mayavadis. So they are actually offenders to the Supreme Lord, because they are denying his form, his qualities, his mercy, everything. They say he has no personality, only Brahman is reality. So we should not we can respect them, but we don't have to hear from them. We should not inquire from them confidentially. We should never accept invitations to go to their classes. Neither they should be allowed to speak at any programs. Then also Prabhupada talks about how because we have desire to eat nice food, we take invitations from rich people and we go to their home and we eat the food that is cooked by them. So whether they are karmis or mayavadis, then that also affects our mind. Um, so we should avoid their association. But at the same time, we can be kind. So there are people who are actually Mayavadis and there are people who have some influence of Mayavad. They are not actually Mayavadis, but they have some influence of Mayavad. And if you preach to them philosophically and try to make them understand, then they may change. So, so that is what. Then Prabhupada talks about the Dadati principle, how one should give at least 50% of what one earns, the income, 50% of the income should be spent for Krishna, 25% for family, and 25% for personal. Now, this will depend upon what your income is, what are your responsibilities, and your level of renunciation, your level of surrender. But to some extent, whatever we can always give charity. We may not be able to give 50%, which is mostly difficult for many people, but because of, added responsibilities and so many things. But whatever we can give, we should try to give for the propagation of Krishna consciousness movement. And also, it doesn't mean you have to give to the temple, but if you have a house and in your house you are buying food from the supermarket and then you're offering the food to Krishna, that is also counted because that is also service to Krishna. And then you are inviting devotees and, giving prasadam like that. You are paying mortgage on your house, but your house is a temple and you are conducting Krishna conscious activities in the house. Then that also is, you are using your money for supporting. So this is Dadati principle, means to give. So, okay, so we should not associate with Mayavadi. So this is basically kind of the gist of the fourth verse. So we'll read something. I think does anybody have any comments so far, whatever we discussed?
Just some clarity, Prabhuji. Mayavadis and impersonalists are the same.
No, so Brahmavadis, I didn't finish that. So Mayavadis, they say Krishna's form is Maya. The philosophy that everything is Maya, Krishna's form is illusion. Brahmavadis are those who say that they may know Krishna is God, but they are more attracted to the impersonal feature. Very little difference, but there is subtle difference between Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. So absolute truth is realized in three phases: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So they are more attracted to the Brahman feature, even though they may know that Krishna's, but they are more attracted to the Brahman feature. But Mayavadis, they say, no, this is all, Krishna's form is Maya. This is all only Brahman. That Brahman, that impersonal Brahman, has transformed himself into different forms. But these are all fake forms. Whereas we don't say that, right? Devotees, of course, they say Krishna's form is eternal. But they are of this opinion that everything is ultimately Brahman without any form. So in Bhagavad Gita 7:24, Krishna refutes this. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyate mama buddhaya param bhavama jananto mama avyayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. So they say Brahman is real and Brahman is taking all these different forms. But actually, ultimately, it's Brahman. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So Krishna has a form, and he says, yeah, when they deride me, when I descend in the human form, fools deride me. Avajananti mamamuda manushim tanumashritam. So what is the difficulty with accepting God as a person? What is the difficulty?
Because they don't need to serve, Prabhuji.
Hmm?
Because they are not willing to serve, like if they accept him as a person, so some service is
Correct. Because we are fried with relationships, right? In this world, relationships are a source of great problems, generally speaking. So they think, oh, another relationship with another person. And if the relationship doesn't work out, what will happen? Relationship means I have my desires and you have your desires. And sometimes, there is friction. Mostly there is a lot of problems in relationship in this world. So no relationships turn out to be perfect. And so again, relationship with God. So spiritual life has to be opposed to material life. So if there are relationships here, there should be no relationship in the spiritual realm. So they think, yes, God is impersonal. He doesn't have any desires. He doesn't have. That's one thing. And the other thing is, if we say God is a form, then he's limited, right? How can he be pervading everywhere? How can he be present everywhere? If his God is a form, then I have a form. I am limited. I'm sitting in my home here. I'm not in my office or I'm not in some other place. So if God is a form, then he's limited. Then how will he? So these are the some of the reasons Prabhupada writes in that purport, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Why different people deny God personal form. So, okay. So most of the things are impersonalists. They don't accept that God is a form, except the Vaishnavas. Okay, anything else anybody like to say? So Sukdev Goswami was a Brahmavadi, the four Kumaras were Brahmavadis. But when they heard about Krishna, then they got attracted. Okay, so let's read. I think we were here. If the members of human society actually want peace of mind, tranquility, and friendly relations between men and between nations, they must follow the Krishna conscious system of religion. If everybody becomes Krishna conscious, what will happen? People will think of everybody's, there'll be no envy, there'll be no fighting. People will share, they'll become less greedy. They will share, they'll care for each other, and the whole world will become like uh, Ram Rajya. Ram Rajya will prevail. If everybody becomes Krishna conscious, there'll be no cruelty because everybody will care for each other. There'll be kindness, like that, mercy. So, if we want this, they must follow the Krishna conscious system of religion by which they can develop their dormant love for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. As soon as people do so, their minds will immediately be filled with peace and tranquility. So this is what if we want to make the world a better place and everybody, happy, then we have to spread Krishna consciousness. Everybody should realize Krishna is the friend of everyone. Like Prabhupada gave the example, if you drop pebbles in a pond in different places, then the circles will clash with each other, the waves. But if you drop in one same spot, then there'll be no. So, so we have to first start with ourselves. We have to put charity begins at home, right? They say. So first we have to become Krishna conscious. The more we become Krishna conscious, the more we can also give Krishna consciousness to others. So the more we develop selflessness, because people want to see, right? Uh, When they see good qualities in you, then they will have faith in what you say. And the faith in the process increases. Because if they see that we are not, of course, we are work in progress, but to say to others that you depend on Krishna and then I am not depending. First, we have to learn to depend on Krishna. So, first I have to do. So, Janma Sarthak Kari, Bharat Bhumite, Manushya Janma Hoilo Jar, Janma Sarthak Kari, Karo Paropkar. Now, that doesn't mean we cannot preach Krishna consciousness until we become perfect. We can say, because we are also like postmen, we are delivering the message as it is. But for people to have faith in what we are saying, they have to see. Uh, they will have faith in what you say only when you are also following, you are also implementing what you say, and they see the effect of the following, right? If you say chant Hare Krishna and be happy, I tell you, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And if we are not joyful, if we are not feeling the taste, if we are depressed, then if I say chant Hare Krishna and be happy, then others will not feel like, So if I'm saying we should give this much money to Krishna, this much, this is what it is. But if I'm not following, then people will have less faith. So first we have to implement achar and then do prachar also. And then all the good qualities will come by following properly, genuinely. And then others. Why Prabhupada attracted so many people to him? Because of his genuine Krishna consciousness and genuine qualities that he had, not only just talking, but to also actually, he had genuine compassion for others. So he could see that. Everybody could see that this person really loves me. And so that is when people will become more, and there is no ulterior motive. It is not for my sense gratification that I'm like in this world, people say love, 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 but it is also based on one's own sense gratification. And when the sense gratification doesn't work out, then the love also disintegrates, the so-called love disintegrates. So that is real, genuine devotee. If one becomes a genuinely Krishna conscious, then he can change the whole world. Okay, so then in this regard, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur warns all devotees engaged in broadcasting the Krishna consciousness movement not to speak to the impersonalists or Mayavadis who are always determined to oppose such theistic movements. This world is full of Mayavadis and atheists, and the political parties of the world take advantage of Mayavad and other atheistic philosophies to promote materialism. Sometimes they even back a strong party to oppose the Krishna consciousness movement. The Mayavadis and other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people in God consciousness. Such is the policy of the atheists. Like many people are afraid if Krishna consciousness spreads, then meat eating will stop, gambling, big business, all these things will stop, smoking industry will stop, people will become vegetarians, the brothels will close down, so many things from which people make money. So they are afraid that this will happen. So they are trying to check it. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, by taking milk and bananas, the snake simply becomes more poisonous. Kevalam visha vardhanam. If snake is given milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent Mayavadis and Karmis. Such disclosures will never help. It is best to completely avoid associating with them and never ask them about anything confidential because they cannot give good advice. Nor should we extend invitations to Mayavadis and atheists or accept their invitations, for by such intimate intermingling, we may become affected by their atheistic mentality. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. So, association means transmission of desires. That's real association. So when you associate with all these people who are speaking this philosophy, then what will happen? we will also get their ideas. And slowly and gradually, our Krishna consciousness. Maya comes in very little, little by little, little by little. There is a story of the Arab. One Arab was in the desert, and at night, he had a camel also with him, because camels are useful in desert for transportation. They don't need water because they store water. They can live without water for a long time. So they were going in desert, and at night it becomes very cold in the desert as it becomes hot in the day. So he had put a tent, and the Arab was in the tent. And then the camel was feeling very, very, very cold outside. So he told the Arab, can I just put in my little nose? My nose is feeling very cold on my mouth. So can I just put a little bit? Arab said, okay, a little bit. You can put your mouth. And then he says, oh, my neck is feeling very cold. Can I just come inside the tent with my neck? And then slowly what happened? The whole camel came inside the tent. And then what happened? And then the Arab was pushed out. So similarly, like if you have 2 points, A and point B, what is the shortest distance to travel from point A to point B? Is a straight line. But if you start at an angle, that's a little bit 1 degree or 5 degree angle, and you start on this line, then as you go, you reach a point C, which is far away from point B. So in the same way, slowly and gradually, by association, we may actually start accepting their desires and their way of life, and their ideas may influence us, and then we may be affected. And it may seem very harmless in the beginning, but so that is what Prabhupada is saying. Sangat sanjayate kama. In the Bhagavad Gita, this verse is coming. Dhyayato vishayan pumsam sangaste supajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodho abhijayate. Right. So, okay. So Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also warned, Vishayara anna khaile dushta hoy man. We should not eat anything from the atheists or Mayavadis, because when one eats food prepared by worldly people, one's minds become wicked. So ideal thing is to always eat food that is cooked by devotees, or you cook your own food. That's the ideal thing. Because when we eat, we are also getting there. Unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, in principle, one should not accept charity from the Mayavadis or atheists. Of course, in Sunday feast, we don't say, oh, you can't give. Sometimes people who have liquor shops, right, they also give us donation. Or somebody may be a Mayavadi, they give donation for the Sunday feast. Like that. We don't say, oh, we will not accept your donation because you are, not properly. But here, if one can use that in Krishna's service properly, then one should see. But otherwise, we become obliged to them when we accept charity, and how the money is earned, like that. So there's one story in Vrindavan, like all the saints, they one prostitute sponsored a feast, and the next day all the saints were feeling all lusty desires, and they were saying, oh, how did all these lusty desires come about? And then maybe she cooked or something, I don't know whether she sponsored. So then our mind also gets affected. So ideally we should not, but practically how much it is possible we should see in our life. Somebody has a traveling job and they have to go somewhere and there is no way to cook, then you can take fruits. Supposing you go to somebody's home and they are eating meat also, but you want to maintain a relationship with them, right? You want to maintain a relationship with them. If you say no to everything, then they may not like it. So you can say, can you give me some fruits? Can you give me some other, like we can eat non-grain prasadam. Okay, so indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden devotees to associate even with ordinary men who are too addicted to material sense gratification. So it is very, very like sometimes we say churasya dhara, right? This path of spiritual life is very, very narrow. But at the same time, we want to spread Krishna consciousness. So we have to be also accommodating so that people can come closer to Krishna. Like sometimes Prabhupada went to some life member's house and they had prepared something with onion and onion, garlic, and Prabhupada told them, okay, you can eat because we are doing this for preaching. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said, if you have to feed them meat, but if you preach, that's okay. So sometimes it may be we can make exceptions, but we have to be careful. So, like I share this Leela with. So Prabhupada, quiet, eat. It doesn't matter, just eat. So Kaushalya is saying, a lady had prepared a huge and delicious vegetarian feast for us, but there were onions throughout the vegetables. One of the men leaned over to Prabhupada and whispered, Prabhupada, there are onions in the vegetables. Prabhupada looked at him angrily and said, quiet, eat. It doesn't matter, just eat. He didn't want to offend her. Being an appreciative guest was more of a concern to him than the fact that there were onions in the vegetables. He ate it and complimented her on her cooking. Another time we were served chocolate. We all thought, oh, you're not supposed to eat chocolate because it's got caffeine in it. Prabhupada said, eat it. He was casual in some ways and strict in other ways. I think his principle was that he didn't want to offend our hosts by being a stickler for the rules and regulations. It was a great example. So maybe he's the Acharya. So, of course, he can do. He knows exactly when to apply, how much to apply, and how much to relax, when to relax. But that should not be like an excuse for us to eat anywhere and everywhere, like in the restaurants and things like that. So he did that sometimes to spread Krishna consciousness. Okay. So the conclusion is that we should always keep company with devotees. Observe the regulative devotional principles, follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, and in full obedience carry out the orders of the spiritual master. In this way, we shall be able to develop our devotional service and dormant Krishna consciousness. The devotee who is neither a neophyte nor a Mahabhagavat, but is within the middle status of devotional service, is expected to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friends with the devotees, show favor to the ignorant, and reject the jealous and demoniac. So there are three levels of devotees. There is the lowest level that is called neophyte. There is the middle class level that is called the Madhyamadikari. The lowest is called Kanishta, then Madhyama, and then the topmost devotee is called the Uttamadikari. So Prabhupada is saying that devotee who is in between, neither very new nor completely self-realized, greatly advanced devotee, then he should make friends with devotees, show favor to the ignorant, reject the jealous and demoniac. Ishware tadadhineshu balisheshu dvishastucha prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti samadhyama. So with Ishvara, he has prem. With adhineshu means the devotees, he has maitri, friendship. With the Ishvara balisheshu, those who are innocent, he has kripa. And for those who are dvisha, who are envious, who are atheists, he has upeksha, or he ignores them. So in this way, in this verse, there is brief mention of the process of making loving transactions with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and making friends with the devotees. According to the Daddhati principle, an advanced devotee is supposed to spend at least 50% of his income on the service of the Lord and his devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has set such an example in his life. So we should contribute something to the spreading of Krishna consciousness movement as much as we can. We should start somewhere at least. We may not be able to give 50% because our income may not be so much, but Krishna says one who wants to enjoy the fruits of his work is a miser. So we should contribute something for whatever is possible, to whatever degree. And then that is, depositing into our permanent bank account, whatever we give to Krishna. So when he decided to retire, he distributed 50%. So 50, 25, 25. This example should be followed by all devotees. Whatever one's income, 50% should be spent on behalf of Krishna and his devotees, and this will fulfill the demands of Dadati. Dadati means to give Krishna. And of course, Dadati means also to give Krishna to others in the form of holy name. In the next verse, Srila Rupa Goswami informs us what kind of Vaishnava should be selected as friend and how Vaishnava should be served. That's the next verse. So, anything else anybody like to say on this verse?
Prabhuji, like I had one like a doubt, Prabhuji, regarding like association of materialistic people. Let us suppose like if you are like in a community, if you are with like all the materialistic people, not the devotees, so like how can we proceed in that situation, Prabhuji?
In the devotee community, you're saying?
Yeah, right now, like wherever we are staying, so we don't find like any devotees, Prabhuji. So we are staying in a community where all like I can say other than the Krishna conscious followers. Mm.
So you can be the example for the others so that they can become more inspired to become devotees, right? So that is one way, right? You can make others come to the devotional platform. Like when Prabhupada came, nobody was a devotee here in America, right? There was nobody who heard about Krishna. They were doing all kinds of things. But by his association, he made others to accept devotional service. So if it is possible, or you invite other devotees in your area, those who are nearby, they can come, they can preach, and you can also help in that preaching. So so we can make, because in the material world we cannot expect, then there is no need to preach, right? In the spiritual world everybody is a devotee, so there is no need to preach. But here we preach because everybody is not a devotee, and we are supposed to, first of all, we have to also become a devotee. We are also trying. One of the aspect of becoming a devotee is to share Krishna consciousness with others. So whatever we know, it's not like we have to be a pandit before we share Krishna consciousness. But if we know the basics, then we can share. Like Prabhupada told the daughter of Malati, Saraswati, that she was going to everybody and she was asking, do you know who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada was appreciative of this. He was saying, yes, see, even she is preaching. Even little child is preaching. So like that, if we know Krishna is God, then we can share that much, whatever we know about Krishna. We are not this body, we are the soul. That is preaching. Whatever is shared from Bhagavad Gita, what is how karma works, how we are trapped in the cycle of birth and death. So we can have programs at our place, and then we can invite devotees to or people to come and do some reading and discussion on Bhagavad Gita. So in this way, we can make devotees. So we don't have to take we don't have to compromise our Krishna consciousness. We don't have to like go with them outside and all that, movies and stuff, but we can do what is necessary to like give them Krishna. We give them association, but we don't take their association. So in that way, we can, distribute Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So everything requires time, energy. Yeah. Somebody wants to say. Everything requires time, energy, like that, enthusiasm. If we have enthusiasm, we have like utsahat, nishya, dharya, then we can think of some ways to spread Krishna consciousness. So
But there's a question that there are devotees who are materially tinted also. So their association can also affect, right?
Yeah. So we are also, we don't think of ourselves as pure devotees, and we think that everybody else is materially contaminated. But yes, everybody's interest in Krishna consciousness is at different levels. So that is what it is saying, that with materialistic, if they are devotees, the next verse will come. If they are devotees but they are still not, then we give them respect in our mind and we engage them in service. We have to be kind to everyone, engage them in Krishna's service, somehow or other, and not take the materialistic part of whatever then. But they have some faith in Krishna. They are devotees, but they are still maybe attached to many things. So we take the good part and we encourage them in their good part. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, somehow or other you have to find ways to encourage, not to disturb the mind, right? What is that verse? We should somehow encourage them in Krishna consciousness. So that is our, and then we also may not be perfect. So everybody is, unless one is a pure devotee, there is always some, what you can say, in 3.26, there's always some problem. In Bhagavad Gita 3.26, Krishna is saying, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So somehow or other, like one time some book distributor was saying, when he distributed a book, the person, instead of giving money, gave them a lighter. A lighter. Now, the devotees don't smoke, so what will they do with the lighter? Of course, they can light a fire. So they use that lighter to um, light a lamp for Krishna. So in that way, that person also gets some agyata sukruti, right? Because his lighter, what he gave, is being used. So somehow or other, we have to, Prabhupada says, therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. So, by your example, although the ignorant man is not disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. Like we have the example of Jayananda Prabhu, right? He was building a cart for Jagannath. And then there was this Jayapataka Swami. So he engaged them he says, okay, can you put some nail for this cart, and so like that, how he engaged Jayapataka Swami, and then one after another, right? He engaged. So you have to find some way to engage them in some Krishna service like that, and be kind to them. Don't condemn them, because most people don't like uh, being preached to like very strongly, because everybody has their false ego, and if you preach very strongly, then they will never come again. So instead of that, as Krishna says, not to disrupt the mind, you have to see how they can be engaged. So in this way, everybody likes food and music, so give them prasadam and chant Hare Krishna, do kirtan, like that. Generally, for preaching, three things are required: kirtan, prasadam, and preaching. So if we can get these three things, kirtan,
Prabhuji, like what are the verses to memorize in Nectar of Instruction, Prabhuji?
So I put that in our WhatsApp group, the 4 verses, the first 4 verses. The recording is there also. So the first 4 verses. So that is also something we have to see how. So next time, let's start with the first verse. So you have to recite the verse with your eyes closed. Looking at this computer with the eyes closed, and you have to recite the verse. So then I will mark that, oh, you memorize the verse, right? Otherwise, you're looking at the camera, but you may have the verse in front of you, but I cannot see you. It's on the computer. So you have to keep your eyes closed and then speak the verse. So we'll start with the first verse. Yeah.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay. The first verse, the recording is there, but just yeah, and the more you recite and the more you speak it, the more it will become more easy to remember. So the sound, Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udaropastha vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dhiraha sarvam pimam prithvim sashishya. Like that, if you say some few times and you take one line, I said this before, you take one line and you try to memorize one line. First look at the verse, the meaning, and then what each word means, and then slowly and gradually take one line, then take 2 lines, then take first and second, then third line, like that. So, And if you forget some word, then let's say Vishaheta, then just say Vishaheta, Vishaheta, Vishaheta. So then you'll know. It'll take some time, and also writing down the verse also helps. And then if you have a tune, then tune also helps. If you can sing it, that also helps. At least for me, it helps. So everybody's a little bit different, but whatever works. So in this way, I memorize verses. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining, and we will continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Uh,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.